Okay guys, hi, just a quick video to show you how to use these transistors with your ChipsetRC lighting units. First of all, why might you want to use one? Well, if you're going to be putting a whole series of LEDs in parallel onto one pin, then the unit won't be able to supply enough current to light all of them at full brightness. Likewise, if you want to use an LED which draws far more current or requires a different voltage to the voltage supplied by the unit, then you'll want to use a transistor. So yeah, how a transistor essentially works is we'll start with this one, which is the one you can choose to come with it on eBay, and soon there'll be an option for these ones as well on a separate listing. And they basically do the same thing. This one can just supply more voltage and current than this one, but this one should do fine for small groups of LEDs. So essentially we have 3 pins at the bottom, and you connect on this one, you connect the middle pin to the pin in which the LEDs you're going to have want to be turned on by. So for example, if let's say we have 2 headlight pins here, but we have 6 headlights on our car, let's say you have a little light bar in front of the grille, then you're going to want to use a transistor so you can light up all 6 from these pins. So because we want our LEDs to come on and off with the headlights, we'll connect this middle pin, or this middle pin here, to the headlight pins, or just one, doesn't really matter, on the unit. And that goes to the middle pin here. And then the end pin on the right, this is if the unit is, if the transistor is flat side up, by the way, that's where we look at it from. The pin on the right, so this pin, will go to ground, and either ground will do. You might be using this ground already to supply voltage to the unit, so maybe you want to use this ground. So then we'll go to ground, and basically when a connection, or when there's a voltage between these 2 pins, i.e. when this says it should be on, it will let current flow between the 2 end pins. So you can see this pin on the left and this pin on the right, and it'll let current flow between them when the current is flowing between these 2. So it's basically like a switch, but an electronic switch. And so what that means is we can have a lot more current flowing between these 2 end pins than these 2 pins here. So that means that you can have a larger battery or more LEDs flowing, and it won't break the transistor. So that's cool. So how we then wire it up is you have your, obviously, as this isn't supplying the power anymore and it's just acting as a switch, all this is essentially is breaking and connecting a circuit in time to, so let's say it's the indicators, it'll be connecting the circuit once every half second to create the indicator effect, but with the headlights it'll just be constantly on. So that has to go at the end, i.e. there can't be any resistance or any LEDs between the transistor and ground here. Neither can there be any resistance on this wire here. So if you look at the circuit diagram, we have the battery and then the load on the circuit, which is the LED, and that all comes before the transistor. The transistor should be the final thing before it reaches back to ground. So then we have the battery which we're powering our LEDs with, and we connect the positive on our LEDs, and this maybe should be one high power LED, or you may have lots in parallel, that's fine. And obviously that would look like this. Would have more LEDs up here, and you can just connect them all in parallel like this. And then the negatives of these LEDs will all go to the left pin on the transistor. The ground from the battery will have to go back to the ground on the unit here, and it can be either grounds again, but just like this one, it can go to ground, or you can even just connect these together and put them both onto ground. And yeah, that's how you wire up this one. So this one is exactly the same, except for the pin order is a bit different. Now, instead of the middle pin going to the pin on the unit, the left pin goes to the pin on the unit, and the middle one is the one which takes the LED negative. So now you wire up the LED to the middle pin, and then the right pin still goes to ground. So to show you what I'm doing, I've got my transistor in here, and this row is all connected, this row is all connected, this row is all connected, so I can essentially attach things to here without soldering. And what I want to do is I want to use all 4 of these LEDs on one pin, which obviously the unit won't be able to handle on its own. That's why we're using the transistor. I'm powering the unit with a 9-volt battery, and these LEDs I want to power 3 volts. So I'm using this unit here, which just supplies 3 volts between these 2 terminals to simulate a battery. Although for you, any battery will do, you know, like a 1S LiPo gives you enough voltage for these. But yeah, we'll just pretend that these are my batteries. So I'm going to plug the positive to the positive terminals of all these LEDs. And then the negative terminal goes to the end pin, as we show here. So we'll connect that here. This negative terminal goes to this end pin here. The middle terminal goes to our unit. So let's power it with the indicators. So we want all these to flash, let's say, with our indicators. And the end unit will go to ground. Now, this bar here is connected to the ground on the unit here. It's just you can see I've attached it to the whole row. So we'll just plug that into there. Now, hopefully when we indicate, all of our LEDs should turn on as well. There we go. So you see how it's doing it? All this is now essentially doing is we have our own circuit here, but it goes positive to the LEDs, through that into ground. So all this transistor is now doing is acting as a switch, which is controlled by the RC unit. So we can now put whatever we want here as our load, really high power LED, you can put whatever voltage you want, and it'll light up using the controller or the unit signal. So yeah, that should hopefully explain how you use the transistors, which came with if you chose them as the option. If you have any questions, drop them down in the comments. Thanks for watching.